The dinner party was supposed to be private. Just close friends of Meghan and Harry gathered at their Montecito mansion in the summer of 2021. No press, no recording devices, just wine and conversation and the kind of honest venting that happens when people feel safe. But someone at that dinner talked. Someone remembered what Meghan said about Kate. And 6 months later, those words made their way back to William. It started with a text from a friend William trusted. Just 3 words, call me. Urgent. William had been at Kensington Palace reviewing documents about an upcoming tour. He stepped away from his desk, walked to his private study, and dialed. I need to tell you something, his friend said without preamble. About Meghan. About things she's been saying about Catherine. I debated telling you, but you need to know. William's stomach tightened. What things? I was at a dinner party last week. Someone there knows Meghan's circle. They said she's been very candid about Catherine. At private dinners. Among friends. Things that if they ever became public would be devastating. Tell me exactly what she said. His friend hesitated. William, maybe it's better if you don't know. Maybe. Tell me. So his friend did. And with each sentence, William felt his blood pressure rising. Felt anger building in a way he hadn't experienced since Harry had left. Since the family had fractured and everything had fallen apart. When his friend finished, William was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Thank you for telling me. Don't repeat this to anyone else." He hung up, sat in his study, and felt something shift inside him. The small hope he'd been holding, that maybe someday the rift with Harry could heal, that maybe Meghan wasn't as vindictive as the palace believed. That hope died. Because what Meghan had said about Kate wasn't just criticism. It wasn't just venting about in-law tensions. It was cruel, personal, designed to wound in the deepest way possible. And William would never forgive it. The dinner party had been at the home of Meghan's friend, a Hollywood producer who'd been supportive during Meghan's exit from royal life. 8 people total, all carefully vetted, all supposedly trustworthy. Meghan had arrived stressed. She and Harry had just done another interview, and the British press was tearing them apart again. She'd had 2 glasses of wine before dinner was even served. "I'm so tired of the narratives," Meghan said as they sat down to eat. "The press makes Kate out to be perfect. St. Catherine, who can do no wrong. Meanwhile, I'm the villain who destroyed the royal family. The press is racist," someone said. "They were never going to give you a fair chance." "It's not just the press," Meghan continued. "It's the palace. They deliberately briefed against me while protecting Kate. Made sure she looked good and I looked terrible." This was familiar territory. Meghan had said similar things publicly. But then she went further. "You want to know the real reason they protected Kate? Because she's exactly what they want. Compliant. Boring. A perfect little robot who follows every rule and never asks questions." Someone laughed uncomfortably. Meghan didn't stop. "Kate has no personality. She's a mannequin in designer clothes. She's been with William for 20 years, and nobody knows anything real about her because there's nothing there. She's empty. A vessel for the institution." "That seems harsh," someone ventured. "It's true. I try to connect with her. I really did. But there's nothing to connect with. She's so repressed, she barely seems human. She can't have a genuine conversation because she's been so thoroughly programmed to say the right thing, wear the right outfit, smile the right smile." Meghan poured more wine. The dinner guests were quiet now, sensing they were witnessing something that shouldn't be shared. And the worst part? William chose her specifically because she's like that. Because she'll never challenge him, never question the system, never demand to be treated like an actual person instead of a royal accessory. He wanted a wife who would be decorative and obedient, and that's exactly what he got. "Meghan," Harry's voice was cautious. "What? It's true. You said the same thing. You've said Kate is so desperate to please the palace that she's lost herself completely." Harry had said that, in private moments of frustration, but hearing Meghan repeat it in front of other people made him uncomfortable. "Kate has been kind to me," Meghan continued, "but only in the most superficial ways. She sends flowers for birthdays. She makes polite small talk, but she's never once asked me how I'm really doing. Never once stood up for me when the palace was destroying me. She just watched, stayed silent, protected herself. Maybe she was protecting her children, someone suggested. Maybe she didn't want to get involved in family drama. Or maybe she enjoyed watching me suffer. Maybe she liked being the good one by comparison. Saint Kate, who does everything right, versus difficult Meghan, who can't follow the rules. The alcohol was loosening Meghan's tongue. Harry touched her arm, warning her to stop. She pulled away. You want to know what really happened with the bridesmaid dress thing? The story everyone thinks is about me making Kate cry. The room went silent. This was the story that had defined so much of the media narrative. Kate crying over Princess Charlotte's bridesmaid dress. Meghan being unreasonable and demanding. Kate did cry, but not because I was mean to her. She cried because I wouldn't let her control every detail of my wedding. She wanted Charlotte's dress to be a certain way. I had a different vision. I said no, and Kate cried because someone finally told her no. That's not how it was reported, someone said. Of course it's not, because the palace made sure the story made me look like a bully and Kate look like a victim. They even had William call and yell at Harry about how I'd made his precious wife cry. Never mind that it was my wedding. Never mind that Kate was overstepping. I was the problem. Meghan's voice was bitter now, years of resentment pouring out. And afterward, Kate sent flowers and a note apologizing. Everyone made a big deal about how gracious that was. But you know what the note actually said? I'm sorry if I overstepped. I'm just trying to help. Not a real apology. Just more passive-aggressive nonsense. She leaned back in her chair. Kate, is everything wrong with that family? She's so beaten down by the system that she can't even recognize how dysfunctional it all is. She thinks being a perfect princess is an accomplishment. She doesn't realize she's just a prisoner who's forgotten what freedom feels like. That's really unfair, Harry said quietly. She's trying to survive that world just like we were. Kate isn't trying to survive. She's trying to win. There's a difference. She wants to be Queen Catherine someday. She wants the power and prestige. She's willing to sacrifice her humanity for a title. You don't know that. Don't I? Name one authentic thing Kate has ever done. One moment where she broke protocol, or showed real emotion, or stood up for something controversial. Harry couldn't, because Kate's entire public life had been carefully calibrated perfection. No scandals, no mistakes, no visible cracks in the facade. Exactly, Meghan said. She's a robot. And William loves it because he's a robot too. They're perfect for each other. Two emotionally stunted people playing dress-up as the future king and queen. Someone at the table shifted uncomfortably. This had gone far beyond normal venting. This was cruel, personal, and everyone there knew it. But Meghan wasn't finished. The worst part? Kate actually judges me. I can see it in her eyes when we're together. She thinks I'm weak for not being able to handle the pressure. She thinks I'm selfish for leaving. She thinks I destroyed Harry by encouraging him to choose happiness over duty. She's never said that, Harry pointed out. She doesn't have to say it. It's in every carefully neutral statement she makes. Every time she supports William in public. Every time she stays silent when the press attacks us. Her silence is its own statement. She's chosen their side. Meghan drained her wine glass. And you know what I hope? I hope someday her children rebel. I hope George or Charlotte or Louis refuses to play the game. Refuses to be the perfect little royal Kate is training them to be. And I hope Kate realizes too late that she sacrificed her humanity for nothing. That the institution she served so loyally destroyed her children anyway. The room was ice now, because wishing harm on children, even in the abstract, cross a line everyone recognized. Harry stood. We should go. Meghan's had a long day. She's tired. I'm not tired. I am honest. Finally, for once, I'm being honest about what that family really is. But Harry was already helping her up, apologizing to their hosts, getting them out of there before Megan said anything else that couldn't be unsaid. In the car, Harry was quiet. Megan leaned her head against the window, the whine and emotion catching up with her. I shouldn't have said those things, she said quietly. No, you shouldn't have. But I meant them. Most of them. I know. When they got home, when Megan had fallen asleep, Harry sat in their living room and thought about what she'd said. About Kate. About William. About how the institution destroyed people. Some of it was true. Kate was reserved, careful, programmed to be perfect. But was that her fault? Or was she just doing what she'd been trained to do? Surviving the only way she knew how? And the things Megan had said about Kate's children, Harry knew his wife didn't really mean them. She'd been drunk and hurt and lashing out. But other people had heard, and other people might talk. He should have told Megan to be more careful. Should have warned her that even among friends, even at private dinners, words had a way of getting out. But he didn't, because part of him agreed with her. Part of him did think Kate was too compliant, too willing to sacrifice authenticity for acceptance. Too much like the robot Megan had described. And that was the problem, because now those words, Megan's cruel, wine-fueled assessment of Kate, were out in the world, floating around, waiting to make their way back to the one person who would never forgive them, William. When William heard what Megan had said, filtered through his friend, probably distorted by multiple retellings, but accurate enough in the broad strokes, his first instinct was to call Harry, to confront him, to demand an apology on Megan's behalf. But he didn't, because what would be the point? Harry would defend Megan, make excuses, say she'd been drunk or taken out of context or misunderstood. And William would get angrier and they'd fight and nothing would be resolved. Instead, William went home to Kate, found her in their private sitting room, reading a book while their children slept upstairs. We need to talk, he said. Kate looked up, saw his expression, and set down her book. What's wrong? William sat beside her, took her hand. I heard something today about Megan, about things she's been saying about you. Kate's face went carefully neutral, the expression she perfected over 2 decades of public life. What things? William told her. Not every detail. He couldn't bring himself to repeat the worst of it, but enough. The comments about Kate being a robot, being empty, being complicit in the palace's treatment of Megan, being a bad mother who would sacrifice her children to the institution. As he spoke, Kate's face didn't change, but William saw her hand tighten on his, saw the small tells that meant she was hurt even if she'd never show it publicly. When he finished, Kate was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Is it true? Is that really what she thinks of me?" According to my source, yes. Did Harry know she was saying these things? He was there, at the dinner party. He heard everything. Kate stood, walked to the window, looked out at the gardens where her children played, where she tried to give them something like a normal childhood despite everything. I tried, she said quietly. I really tried to be kind to her, to welcome her into the family. But nothing I did was ever enough. I know. She wanted me to, what, rebel against the palace? Publicly support her? Risk my family's position for someone I barely knew? She wanted you to be something you're not. Someone willing to burn it all down. Like she is. Kate turned to face him. I'm not empty, William. I'm not a robot. I have thoughts and feelings and opinions. I just don't broadcast them to the world. I know that. Do you? Because sometimes I wonder if you wish I was more like her. More willing to speak my mind. More exciting. William stood, went to her. I love you exactly as you are. I chose you because you're strong enough to handle this life. Because you're loyal and dedicated, and yes, willing to put duty above personal desires. That's not a flaw. It's exactly what we need. She called me compliant, boring, a perfect little robot. She's wrong. Is she? Because I do follow the rules. I do prioritize the institution. I do sacrifice my authenticity for acceptance. All the things she accused me of, I actually do them. Because you understand what's at stake. Because you know this is bigger than any individual. Because you're thinking about our children's future, not just our present happiness. Kate's eyes filled with tears. She said she hopes our children rebel, but they refuse to be what we're training them to be. That's unforgivable, William. Whatever else she said, wishing harm on our children. I know. I can never forgive that. I can never have a relationship with someone who would wish unhappiness on my children. I know, William said again. He held his wife while she cried, quietly, contained, the way she'd learned to cry, so servants wouldn't hear and children wouldn't worry and the press would never know. When Kate composed herself, she asked, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. I can't confront Meghan. We're not even speaking. I can't confront Harry without making things worse. I can't go public without creating a bigger scandal. So we do nothing? We just let her say these terrible things about me, and there are no consequences." William thought about that, about what consequences were possible, about what response would satisfy his rage without destroying what little remained of his relationship with Harry. "I'll handle it," he said finally. "I don't know how yet, but I'll handle it." 3 weeks later, William did something calculated, something that would send a message without starting an open war. Kate had been working on a mental health documentary. William arranged for its release to be accompanied by an interview where Kate spoke, more personally than she'd ever spoken publicly, about the pressures of royal life. "People think being in this family means privilege and ease," Kate said in the interview. "And yes, there are privileges, but there are also enormous pressures. The scrutiny is relentless. The rules are strict. The expectations are impossible. You're never allowed to be fully yourself. You're always performing." The interviewer asked, "How do you cope with that?" "By remembering why I'm doing it. By focusing on my children and the causes I care about. By having a partner who supports me. By understanding that this role is bigger than my personal comfort." "Do you ever want to walk away?" Kate paused. A long, meaningful pause. Then she said, "Everyone has moments of doubt. Moments where the pressure feels unbearable. But walking away isn't always the answer. Sometimes staying and working to change things from inside is the braver choice." The dig was subtle, but everyone understood. Kate was calling Meghan a coward without saying her name. The interview went viral. The British press praised Kate for her honesty and strength. American media was more divided. Some defended Meghan. Others sided with Kate. Harry watched the interview from California. He knew exactly what Kate was doing. Knew this was William's response to what Meghan had said. And he knew Meghan would see it and be hurt. He was right. Meghan watched the interview and immediately recognized the subtext. "She's calling me a coward," Meghan said. "She's saying I gave up instead of fighting. She's saying what she needs to say to protect herself," Harry replied. "You said harsh things about her." This is her response. "I was drunk at a private dinner." She's doing a calculated interview seen by millions. You know your words would get back to them. You had to know someone would talk. Meghan turned to face him. "Whose side are you on?" "I'm on our side. Our family." "But Meghan, what you said about Kate's children, about hoping they rebel, that was too far." "I didn't mean it literally." "It doesn't matter. You said it. People heard it. And now William and Kate will never forgive you. Which means William will never forgive me for marrying you, for defending you, for choosing you." "You regret it," Meghan said quietly. "You regret choosing me." "No, never. But I do regret that you gave them ammunition. I regret that you made yourself the villain they always wanted you to be." The conversation ended badly. They didn't speak for the rest of the day, each nursing their own wounds, each wondering if the cost of honesty was too high. Back in England, William read the responses to Kate's interview with satisfaction. His wife had defended herself perfectly, had taken a high road while still making clear that Meghan's choices were cowardice, not courage. But that night, alone in his study, William thought about what it meant that he could never forgive what Meghan had said. Thought about how one drunken rant at a private dinner had permanently destroyed any chance of reconciliation with his brother. Because the truth was, Meghan's words had hurt precisely because they contained grains of truth. Kate was compliant. She had sacrificed authenticity for acceptance. She did follow every rule without question, but she did those things out of love. For William, for their children, for the institution she'd married into. Her compliance wasn't weakness. It was strength. It was choosing duty over comfort, choosing family over self. Meghan couldn't understand that because Meghan had made different choices, had chosen self over duty, comfort over sacrifice, and there was nothing wrong with that choice, except it meant she and Kate could never understand each other, could never bridge the divide between their fundamentally different values. And William would never forgive Meghan for attacking Kate's choices, for calling her empty and boring and robotic, for wishing harm on Kate's children, for being so vindictive that even drunk at a private dinner, she couldn't show basic kindness to someone who'd never done anything except exist in a way Meghan found threatening. The rift was permanent now. William knew that. Whatever small hope had remained after Harry left, after the interviews and the book and all the public betrayals, that hope was gone. Because you could forgive someone for hurting you, but you could never forgive someone for hurting the person you loved most. And Meghan had hurt Kate in ways that could never be repaired. Harry called 2 weeks after Kate's interview. William almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "I know what Meghan said." Harry started without preamble. "I know you know, and I'm calling to say I'm sorry." "You're sorry she said it, or you're sorry I found out?" "Both." "Neither. I'm sorry we're here. I'm sorry everything is so broken. Your wife called my wife a robot. Said she hoped our children would rebel and be unhappy. And you think an apology fixes that?" "No, I know it doesn't. But William, she was drunk. She was hurt. She didn't mean. She meant it. Maybe she regrets saying it out loud. But she meant it. And you were there. You heard it, and you didn't stop her." Harry was quiet, because William was right. He had been there. He should have stopped Meghan before she went too far. But he hadn't. "What do you want me to say?" Harry asked finally. "Nothing. There's nothing you can say that changes this. Meghan showed us who she really is. And you showed us that you'll always choose her over us. That's fine. That's your choice. But don't expect us to forget or forgive. She's my wife. And Kate is mine. You don't get to hurt her and then expect me to maintain a relationship with you." The line went quiet, both brothers knowing this was it. The final break. The moment when whatever remained of their brotherhood shattered completely. "I love you," Harry said. "Whatever else happens, I need you to know that. You're still my brother. I still love you." "I loved you too," William replied. Past tense, because I don't know who you are anymore. The Harry I knew would never have let someone speak about Kate that way. Would never have chosen a woman over his family. Would never have broken our mother's heart by destroying our brotherhood. Mum would want us to forgive each other. Don't. Don't invoke Mum to justify what you've done. She would be ashamed of both of us. But especially you. For abandoning your duty. For marrying someone vindictive and cruel. For choosing California over your country. Harry felt tears streaming down his face. "You're wrong about Meghan. You're wrong about everything. Then I guess we'll never agree. Goodbye, Harry." William hung up, sat in his study, and let himself grieve for the brother he'd lost. Not to distance or duty or different choices, but to a fundamental incompatibility of values that could never be bridged. What Meghan had said about Kate wasn't the cause of the break. It was just the final proof of something William had been trying to deny. His brother had married someone who would never understand or respect the life William had chosen. And Harry had chosen Meghan's values over the family's values. That choice had consequences. And one of those consequences was that William would never forgive what Meghan had said. Not because he was rigid or unforgiving, but because protecting Kate, protecting his wife and their children and the life they'd built together, mattered more than brotherhood. It was the saddest truth of William's life, but it was truth nonetheless. And truth, once spoken, could never be taken back.